When you get to those low moments, the deep moments where you're really questioning, is this the life that I want to live? Is this the partner that I want to have? That whole thing.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. I mean, you guys were rocking it, touring with Peter Frampton and the OJs and the
I
Commodores.
just want to make sure you didn't live out
Okay.
all the particulars there.
It makes me emotional because it's one of those things where coming into it, similarly to you, I love the calling here. I do feel called towards eWomenNetwork. So I didn't want to step away from it. And also I didn't want to sacrifice my family relationship and the spirit of that either. So.
Yeah.
So welcome back to She Means Millions.
Exactly.
We get asked about this all the time.
Yeah.
And here's what we don't talk about enough. And that is, we run a business together and we're a family. And those don't always agree. And we've had to learn how to fire each other from one role to keep each other in another. And we're going to tell you what that actually looks like. So one thing off the top, I want to just challenge you with. The first word that comes to mind for each of you. What is the best thing about working together and the hardest thing in one word?
Trust right away. Trust and
Convenience.
appreciation. For me. Did I give you 2 words?
Yeah, you did. That's cool. So those are the positive. What's the hardest part?
Trust.
Yeah.
We actually drive separately now. Sometimes we just need a break, even though we're leaving at the same time, coming to the same place and leaving to go home. We drive separately.
Because
More times than not.
we have
That's
different
interesting.
agendas. Because I know you will talk to.
I make phone calls on the way home to my
And-
teams that are out of staff
state.
that don't live in Dallas. They don't work here. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm listening to like a news broadcast or a podcast. I listen to podcasts all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just different. You know what I mean? So it's our little short period of time where we have me time.
I think it also shuts down the work conversation because then, we both pull into the garage simultaneously.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly. And we get out of the car and the next thing you know, we're talking about dinner and all the things. And yeah.
That's honestly probably really smart, that you have that moment because you are actively running the business together. So you live together and you work together. You're in the office together. So having at least a moment by yourself, particularly because I don't know that y'all have a lot of like independent hobbies.
Massage.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Massage.
Yeah, massage.
Facials, getting my nails done in the garden.
Yeah. Those are your independent hobbies. Let
me tell you something.
My closet is
eWomen Network.
hobby.
eWomen Network is a very jealous employer. I mean, eWomen Network wants time and attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just does. I mean, it's just what it is. It's its own little living, breathing thing. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Well, I think continuity-based models, business models like eWomenNetwork, a membership-based model. I mean, when you've got thousands of people, you know what I mean? That drives a very different type of set of expectations, I think, than if you were just product-based.
Yeah. So interesting.
I mean, I had an experience, Briana, when was it 2014, Sandra, where for 1 year I left eWomenNetwork to run a magazine called Live Happy. A dear friend of mine, Jeff Olson, is the founder, and I got to tell you, it was really something. I learned a couple of key things here with that. First of all, everybody wants to be happy, and nobody wants to pay for it. That get the sponsors for that was hard, man. And the other was,
And there is a price for happiness.
there's a price for happiness. And the other one was, I missed eWomenNetwork. I mean, it was the darndest thing. I would leave, the Live Happy office was just down the street from us. And I would leave and I would come back. And there was a yearning, a calling. I missed network.
I would. I mean, it'd
I
be
miss the community, man. I miss the whole vibe.
You were at a conference one year. That conference, remember?
Huh?
That was when Ken Kragan helped me. I wanted to acknowledge you since you weren't going to be part of the conference that year. And Ken Kragan had connections, of course, in the music industry. And some people may not know that you, at your core, are a musician. And I met you when you were in a band on Capitol Records. You did 6 albums, one that went gold, toured, the world, etc., sold out coliseums, Atlanta Jam, 70,000 people, etc. And anyway,
by the way, those other albums almost went gold.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, I mean, you guys were rocking it, touring with Peter Frampton and the OJs and the Commodores.
Just want to make sure you didn't live out
Okay.
all the particulars there.
Anyway,
we're on Soul Train 5 times.
Yeah, you could go to YouTube and go to Sun on Soul Train after this episode, of course. But check him out and check out the drummer. And why am I saying this? You got me totally distracted here.
Well, I was leaving, and Ken Kragan, and I think.
That year when you
the
came,
gift that I got.
Yeah, and so I was telling Ken, be Kym's first year ever not being part of the conference. You were going to be in the audience, and it felt so weird. And I wanted to do something to simply acknowledge you, and he helped me. He had connections with Buddy Holly's, but who's the drummer?
Buddy Rich.
Buddy Rich's family, and who's one of your favorite drummers,
right?
And was able to get me out of his estate a autographed album that I had framed and had you come up on the stage. But that year felt really
did it feel weird to you?
Yeah, very different. And I remember just being here and being in my office, and you'd be done, and the next thing I knew, you were standing in my office. I always have my back to the door because I like to look out the window over the skyline, the tree lines, and that kind of thing into the sky when I'm being creative and not being distracted by my door. And I would turn around, and there you were. It was hard.
Yeah.
It was a hard year, actually.
And it was all choice. I mean, it was. Yeah. It happened to be that my friend, this whole magazine concept so resonated with me. The whole notion of happiness. I just thought.
And they knew you were the king of sponsorships. Here we go with that conversation. They were like, we need to get this magazine sponsored. And there's only one person I know that can do this. And that's my friend, Kym Yancey.
But real talk, was there a part of you for a season that felt like maybe the break was needed for professional or even personal reasons? Because you missed eWomenNetwork, but you had to leave it to realize that. Because had you been absolutely in love with what you were doing, you wouldn't have taken that opportunity, as exciting as it was, So I want to pressure test this a little bit.
No, I am telling you, the only reason I left was because the mission behind Live Happy and what it was all about was so strong. I felt pulled to it. And I felt that what was going on with the eWomenNetwork, it was in good hands. Sandra, it's her baby, It was only after leaving and being away from it that it come into focus for me how much it meant to me.
I think we both did. I think it was we both realized, gosh, it's easy to take for granted that you've got that person that's always got your back.
Well, let me give you. Let me give you the real deal. I was going to give you the real deal no matter what. Things that you don't even think about. For example, if she was going out of town or someplace that normally I would have been going with her, or planning a getaway or something like that, well, her schedule wouldn't allow. As opposed to how we coordinate things together at eWomenNetwork.
Right.
How we can plan things and we do things.
Right.
But now I've got other conferences that I'm going to. I'm doing other things.
Right.
And she's not involved in that.
Yeah.
It was just something, we didn't. I don't think realize, I'll speak for me, didn't realize what we had created in terms of an infrastructure in our life.
Yeah.
And the things that we did together.
The thread got broken. There was we would weave everything together when we were all under one roof here, and it became harder once he was someplace else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Briana, when I spend the night at your house on Thursdays, we don't talk business.
No, we don't. For the most part.
Yeah, I mean, you were working after I got Tatiana down and that kind of thing. You had your laptop out, and you were propped on the couch and that kind of thing. And I think you were working, and I interrupted you over some of my new Korean beauty products.
Yeah, you would have definitely been gotten a little a little report sent to the house for interrupts others while doing work.
Exactly.
Really did. Yeah. On a whole rabbit trail on another topic, which was good, and I needed it. But yeah, man, you know what's interesting listening to the two of you talk and just being an observer of you and your dynamic, because it is pretty profound. I think a lot of people observe from the sidelines, like, how do they work together and stay married to each other? And, and I've now since observed several other couples too, and how, they really need a break or even just the way they interact, the way that they get on each other's nerves. Like, it's interesting how many people will play their hand in a public setting, and you will never know if one of you is irritated with the other in public. You know what I mean? And it's not like you don't get on each other's nerves every now and then. I think that's human nature.
Yeah.
But you have such a unified front always. You will never reveal in public at a dinner or an event or any kind of a setting. And I think that is such an important and powerful thing that the two of you do. And
well, I got to tell you, what people don't know, right? They don't know I used to be the speaker. Not for eWomenNetwork.
You're the man on the stage.
But I mean,
I married a music man on a stage.
I was touring when I had my advertising agency. We were very successful, and I was called for speaking engagements all the time to do a talk called "The Deadly Weapons That Destroy Small Agencies," and I mean, literally went all over the country speaking and that kind of thing, and our whole dynamic changed.
Because I've always been a behind the scenes.
Yeah, always.
Operations.
Always behind the scenes. And our whole dynamic changed. I've got friends of mine who say, I don't know how you did it.
Right.
And I'm like, it wasn't hard. I mean,
Right.
it wasn't like, man, I'm suffering here. I'm not speaking. I'm not.
You don't have the ego that, I think sometimes gets associated with a lot of men. I mean, you've been very supportive, but we have completely flipped roles. There's just no doubt about it. We spent half of our life together, me supporting you on a stage, you know what I mean? And I've been behind the scenes and flipping it. I do think about how that happened. It was more organic than
we had
everything about the family dynamic has been organic.
We had a tough period where your mother asked me in the evolution of eWomenNetwork, where she asked me to listen to a song by Beyonce.
Oh.
What was that song called?
Listen.
Yeah.
Irony.
Yeah, it's called Listen.
I said, I need you to listen to a song. Because music has always been a way that we've connected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was feeling unheard. And I heard that song, and I mean, I was jogging at the time, and I mean, I would put that thing in my ears, and I would just run like hell,
And was
You
that
guys,
period of time too where you were like newly empty nesters? Because Ryland had moved out, I was married, newly married.
I think so.
So there was a lot of changes happening.
And the dog
personally
died,
and professionally.
got sick.
Yeah.
It was a lot of personal.
And evolution too, and how that changes you and impacts and bleeds into everything.
And so he didn't listen to it.
I did.
And I would ask on occasion, did you ever listen to that song?
And I got to tell you, Briana, this is one of those show note things where there's a video of me on stage acknowledging this tough moment we've gone through.
I don't want to share that.
But it's powerful. I really, my throat. Sorry, gang.
It's all good.
But it was very eye-opening, and we navigated through that because she really expressed. Well, you really expressed your feelings about me not listening, and I really took it to heart.
Because Kym became the producer of me.
Mm-hmm.
This song is the song from Dreamgirls with Beyonce.
Yeah.
And the video that she produced on that song was pretty telling. And I was actually practicing for my first sprint triathlon, and I was looking for new music to add. And I think I was looking for the song to the left, everything you own the box to the left. It's another message, I'm sure. But I saw this list pop up, and I didn't even recognize the name, the song
Yeah.
Listen. But I clicked on it and the video came on and I looked at that and I got up and left. I mean, I locked my door and went home that day. It was so profound to me
Mhm.
because it was like she had said everything that I was feeling. You know, you produced me and now it's time for me to do some of the things that I wanted to do on my own,
Mhm.
kind of thing. And I wanted to talk to him about it. And it was just, we were so, that's why I hate the word busy. It's the worst 4-letter word
Yeah.
in all of business today
Yeah.
because you get really distracted on things that don't matter. It was a time we were using busy a lot. We were busy. And I was trying to get his attention and I just couldn't. And
I found the voice you think you gave to me.
ooh.
Listen. That's why I don't have the record deal.
Do you feel like you're drowning in your business? Like you're doing everything and something has to give, but you're afraid it might be you? What if I told you there's a network of over 500,000 women entrepreneurs, all dedicated to supporting each other? A network of women helping women. I'm Sandra Yancey, founder of eWomenNetwork, and I'm inviting you to join us and become a member. eWomenNetwork.com. We can't wait to meet you.
Let me tell you this. It was so profound that when I did talk about it
Yes.
on stage, I was just being open. I had guys, everybody from Hiram Smith told me that day when he saw that and he came backstage and he says, Kym, I liked you before, but now I love you.
Oh.
And Chris Deneuser
Mm-hmm.
came back and gave me a big, the guys, 3 guys in particular came. One other guy said he called his wife,
Oh.
to say, and his message to his wife is, hey, are we okay?
Oh.
You know what I mean? Because it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really.
Once you did see the video, you then typed up the
I was in a,
phrases of
Yeah.
the song and then would respond to me and then write more phrases and then respond to me. And it was like a 5-page thing by the time it was done.
it is a powerful
You
message.
gave it to me.
And it is on YouTube. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, the one thing I'll say is,
So
We-
working together there was a time when we got so focused on the business that we weren't talking about our individual needs. And I have to take ownership for that because I've so relied on him and I still do, but I started to feel more produced and that I wasn't using my own voice.
Mhm.
And I wanted to talk about it, but I didn't know how to talk about it. And you can verify I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that about me.
Yeah.
I mean, I process a lot quietly,
Right.
and it's easy for me to not talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got all bottled up, and then I wanted to talk, and then I couldn't get him to be available for me. And then I heard this song, and then I thought, well, that's the way to let him know how I'm
that was the
feeling.
message.
It was the message I was trying to tell him.
Mm-hmm. You're not listening to me. You need to listen to this song.
Yeah.
Have you listened to it?
And the name of the song is Listen.
Yeah.
There's this whole thing.
Yeah. No, it's so good.
And I did a keynote that year on Listen, actually. And I used Listen, of course, as an acronym. And
Of course you did.
Of course I
Naturally.
did.
Yeah.
About listening to your customer. I mean, that listen became a theme for me and listening to myself
Yeah.
and then needing to be listened to
Yeah.
and then listening to the customers. There's like this whole 360 kind of, way in which that word became a symbol for me for the year.
There's a book called Less Road Traveled.
The road less traveled.
The Road Less Traveled. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And by Scott M. Peck.
That's right.
And he talked about love and true love. And I really think it applies to us from the standpoint that it's when you get to those low moments, that deep moments where you're really questioning, is this the life that I want to live? Is this the partner that I want to have? That whole thing is when you get to the bottom of that well is where real love emerges. It's when you're in your toughest, darkest moments that real love comes to surface.
Yeah.
And I think we've done that. I mean, I think we've learned
48 years.
Yeah, we've learned to
We've grown up.
respect each other's opinion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Give each other space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't you think? I mean, I think we can only go so far. The problem is we can't get real mad at each other.
Too long. Because you know what he does to me? You know, when I get mad, I go to my office and I work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm one that I need my quiet space. Let me just go and and he'll come to me and he'll say, so just want to ask a quick question. It's a Saturday. Let's say it's a Saturday. So I know you're mad at me and it's 9:30 in the morning. But there's a matinee movie, you know, on at 12:30, and they got some good seats available. And I didn't know if you were still going to be mad at me at 12:30, or if I could go ahead and book these seats. And he says, but if you're still going to be mad at me at 12:30, they've also got a 3:20 movie. And so if you think, you know, maybe you'll be over it by 3:20, you won't be as mad at me. Maybe I could book that one. And if you're going to be mad at me all day, maybe dinner plans and a movie might be an option.
Yeah. You just gotta.
It literally does that, and it cracks me up. And I go, of course, let's go to the early one. Let's get this over with, you know, kind of thing.
Or we'll do the, can we start over?
Yeah.
Hey, can we just start over?
Yeah.
That's been a safe word in our family.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is that has been a core unit thing that has not carried over to other relationships. Because I have tried that in other dynamics, in my own little family unit, and it does not work. Maybe some more maturity and time, but yeah.
Briana, that's so funny.
But it is great for us. And
all four of us.
Yeah.
It's always been a thing.
Yeah.
Anybody can say, start over.
Yeah.
And we all have to stop.
Yeah. It has definitely stayed within the nucleus and not branched out to the rest of the atom. So yeah, that's funny.
We do talk about eWomen Network a lot, but you know, I don't feel, you know, it'll be something going, a new idea, a new strategy, and I like the fact that we don't have divergent, you know, agendas, quite honestly.
Right.
I like the fact that we can talk about other things. And I mean, there are things that we both do and engage with that don't require the other person to necessarily know. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you're talking to someone about some managing directors or something to do with your tour or something like that. I'm working on something else, you know, stage open or whatever it might be.
But we genuinely love the same thing, like a Dairy Queen trip.
Yeah, for sure.
or just we love to look at landscaping, and so we love to go drive around and you know.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think it's
very different without having the, you know, when you guys were kids.
Yeah.
And that was a whole, because then all of our extra time went into your extracurricular activities.
Right.
You know, the different, you know, right on with games, you with color guard, just musical performances, you know, it changed everything. Mm-hmm. And that was fun.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, that was fun.
I'm stepping into that era, and I'm nervous about it, but I know that it's just a season. Everything is just a season, you know?
It makes a big difference when Brian is, you know, let's say 5 and Tatiana's 10. I mean, you know, those moments of difference.
They've heard them now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing great, Briana. I'm hoping that you're realizing how really great you are doing. And I think every season is to be savored. I have very few regrets on our family. And I think that's the real measure that we did okay as parents is that y'all still want to hang out with us.
Yeah.
You love to come over. You love to, you know, the family dinners, the let's hang out at the pool, the holidays, you know, and it doesn't have to be anything special either. It doesn't have to be a birthday or whatever to do that.
Totally. Yeah, I think the one thing that we have that I don't take for granted that I think that maybe this is where families kind of fall down is that we really do have excellent communication skills.
Yeah.
You know, and we call family meetings when things feel off.
That's an interesting concept.
You know, and even like, even when it's, because when I came into the family business, it was weird for me because especially becoming elevated in my leadership, you know, there is a level of programming and switching gears that is still hard for me because, I was raised pretty traditionally by baby boomer parents, the very baby boomer way. And so, the hierarchy and the respect and the getting permission, was like standard growing up. And now being in an environment where, I'm kind of operating at a peer level in a way. I mean, there's still some hierarchy there, but peer wise, in terms of decision making, as I was coming into that, it was really awkward and hard for me to feel comfortable standing my ground and really, voicing my perspectives and my beliefs on things. And I don't think you two struggled with it as much as I did. I think it was more so my own internal kind of like, and I would hold things in and then kind of start to get anxiety or, wonder if is this where I'm supposed to be? Because they don't think like I do, but kind of to the whole point of the listening and the conversation piece, I wasn't communicating. And so we would have these family meetings. I would even have Ryland come because he's not in the family business. And people ask about Ryland all the time. I'm going to get him on the podcast one day. I'm going to interview Ryland on the podcast.
Yeah.
I tried to get him on the last podcast day when y'all were out of town and we couldn't pull it off.
We'll do it in the new studio.
Yeah, it'll be great. But he has really been the best anchor in this dynamic working with you because of the fact that he's not in the business. And so he's a true unbiased Switzerland third party, and can call all of us on our BS when we need to be called on it. And, and really just truly be an anchor even when we are all together to make sure that it doesn't turn into business conversations. But I think having that, having Ryland and his presence has been phenomenal. Even just for me kind of getting into owning my own leadership. I've talked to Ryland sometimes like, okay, I've got to talk to mom and dad about this and I'm nervous about it. And Ryland's been a great sounding board for me just to remember well, you're not talking to mom and dad. You're talking to Sandra and Kym, and it's totally different hats and environments. And I think for cross-generational family dynamics, working in the same business, people are fascinated because they're like, how do you do that? How do you work with baby boomers that are also your parents? And, and I'm sure sometimes you guys are like, why do we bring her in here?
It's been a long time since I've felt that way.
Yeah.
It really has been a long time.
Well, and I think we did finally really find a stride and our buckets and our contributions and perfect our communication. It was rocky for me at first because of the separation of mom and dad, Sandra and Kym. And even though we had those distinctions in terms of how we referred to each other in the office, there was still some childlike behaviors in me that I had to unprogram from how I interact with you.
Well, and they were mom-like behaviors for me. I mean, I do know that there was a time and I thought when it was really tough, like, I don't want to lose my daughter over this.
Right.
I don't want to not be her mom. I mean, I got scared there for a minute.
That it was going to ruin our relationship.
Yeah. It's a much deeper, more personal level. And I was like, this isn't worth it to me.
Yeah. I don't even remember what the argument was, but I remember talking about that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, what was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what the argument was.
All I know is I remember you saying, I'm not sure this is right for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm going to stay. And I remember saying, I hear you and I respect that. And you were going to sleep on it and all of that. And you called me. Yeah.
It makes me emotional because it's one of those things where coming into it, similarly to you, I love the calling here. I do feel called towards eWomenNetwork. So I didn't want to step away from it. And also I didn't want to sacrifice my family relationship in the spirit of that either. So having worked through that, having that.
Well, you called me back and you said, I'm not happy, but I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And I said, then we will figure this out. As long as we know what the end game is. And I didn't want you to leave, and once we were in alignment with that, we knew that we could figure it out, Yeah.
I wish I could remember what it was.
I can't. It was something insignificant. That's always what it is.
Yeah.
But it had been percolating.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it finally just.
Well, I remember having my own moment with you, Briana, over something. And you told me, I don't know, this may not be the right thing for me. And I remember my response, okay, well,
Yeah.
let's see how you feel tomorrow.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yeah. Yeah.
You needed a night to sleep about it. You said,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. 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 No,
Start over.
for sure.
It was really a start over. I mean, it wasn't like, okay, well, let's really, we're like, okay, we're starting over. We're going to figure it out. We're going to,
Yeah. Yeah. And starting over doesn't mean forgetting or acquiescing. It just means
I mean, think
coming
about
back
it.
to it with a clear state of mind
Yeah.
when you're calmer and fresher and not.
and it really works.
This hasn't happened in forever, but we went through periods where you say, I'm out of here.
I did.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, all right then, okay.
Yeah.
Have fun with your eWomenNetwork.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Mom
And I think at some point,
out of here. And I think we're all like, okay. She's gone. What do we do?
we were somewhere. We got out of In-N-Out Burger. I don't know what In-N-Out. Sandra was upset with me about something. Got out of the car. I'm like, what are you doing?
She said, I'm walking home.
And I'm walking home. I mean, she's walking home. She's walking like 6 miles home.
Yeah.
It's just a walk to me.
And so finally, I'm kind of keeping my eye on her from a distance because I'm letting her cool off.
Yeah.
It was something, man. I can't even
That's
tell
my
you.
introversion. I need
can't tell you.
space.
Yeah.
Finally, I catch up with her at Brahms over on Trinity Mills or something.
Yeah.
And I remember pulling up to her and says, would you mind getting in the car?
Yeah. And the thing, introversion and passiveness are not the same because there's one thing she is not. It is passive. Like you will know.
Yeah, right.
You will know.
Yeah.
If this,
Oh, yeah, I'm not passive.
Yeah.
But I do need some quiet space sometimes.
That's to avoid a complete combustion, right? I think I have that gene, so I can poke fun at it because I too have some explosive tendencies. But I have learned to reel them in. When I feel triggered, I take a deep breath, breathe in the
The
flowers,
skills.
blow out the candles.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
No. I just realized that when I finally listened to that song, Listen, that was a pivotal change. And actually,
Forever.
I changed myself.
Like, bam.
It changed.
Forever.
It changed me
To this day.
a lot. Not only in my relationship and my interactions with you, but also with other people.
Yeah.
Mm,
You know what I mean? I became softer and more understanding.
yeah.
And I changed too. I owned my part of that. I let things build up and build up and build up, and I'm much more able to share my feelings as we go.
I gotta say, and I think back to my own mother and father. I mean, I've got a couple. I had a phenomenal father, and but saying that, 3 times maybe I can remember in my life where he and I had some time together, like to dinner or something, like maybe 3 times like that. And I think I can't even comprehend what it's like for you to be around your parents all the time. The experiences. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel good knowing that when my day comes, when I pass on, okay, I'm just saying when that day happens, that we've had incredible experiences together as a father and daughter and family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you didn't work with your mother, right?
No.
It's really, really special. Something that I really covet, that we're able to do this. We're able to do things together. We're able to strategize on things together. You know what I'm saying?
So do I.
And the two of you will summarize with this, and the two of you don't realize how much sometimes I have my own out-of-body experience watching the two of you because I didn't have a dad.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a grandfather. And so there was no, I sometimes step back and go, wow. So that's what it's like in such a beautiful way. But and with you and Ryland, just watching you with the kids for me has been one of the highlights of the whole parenting experience because I never knew what that was like. And it's been beautiful. It's been beautiful. You're a great dad.
Oh, you're a great mother
And a great husband.
and a great wife.
You're great parents.
daughter.
Changed my life.
Oh man, this is a rich conversation, and
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I just want to say, you know, for all that I want to give you still, my greatest hope is that you get in rooms I was never in, that you get opportunities I never saw, that you take risks that were too big for me, that you really elevate all that you're on this planet to do. And all I was a great stepping stone in the process. And I will have known I did my job.
all right, y'all, I'm gonna go and sob in the corner. So that's a wrap on today.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.
I love you.
I love you.
She does not just mean business.
She does. Yes, she does.